12 o'clock on your Thursday afternoon now. Welcome in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Captain Dave, Bill Gunner along with you here on the game. Schnall watch, day 4, unfolding. No, those rumors you saw on Twitter yesterday weren't true. We haven't made a coaching hire yet. Could have one today, maybe. Could have one tomorrow. We'll see. I recommend to everybody, again, wait until a reputable outlet, Gamecock Central, Big Spur, Post and Courier, State, whatever. Wait for one of them to give you the thumbs up in terms of an official hire being made before you go and tell your friends, because, again, there's a lot of reckless speculation out there on what has happened, what's currently happening, that, just not true yet.
Do I get to be reputable? Do I get to be... If I have news, does my news legitimately count?
What was your prediction yesterday?
Well, no. I did actually acquire. This is legitimately true. This is legitimately true that I came across news yesterday. It's also proof, I'm not going to say where I got it, that news can come from anywhere, pretty much anywhere, because I would love to share where I got it from, because then you would just laugh and be like, yeah, okay. But, and I do think this is somewhat relevant, but I was told yesterday, and it came from, I will say it came from a player's relative, that yesterday he was finishing exit meetings with Coastal Carolina.
Which, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally. And so therefore, and the point of that was, if he met with South Carolina yesterday, it was a phone call and very, very brief, because he's wrapping up. Yesterday should have wrapped up. They got back into town on Monday, and he met with his team Tuesday and Wednesday. So I did find that. So, again, I would love to tell you where I got it, because half of where I got it from, you're like it's one of those, well, it's my sister's uncle's boyfriend's
that's what I was going to say. Is you're only 1 degree of separation away from the player. Like, if it's a mom, dad, brother, sister, cousin, whatever, like, that's fine. When you start going down, like, best friends, sisters, cousins, ex-boyfriends, neighbors, person they work with.
Right.
And it's like, okay, like telephone when you're a kid, right? The information starts to get a little bit skewed along the way, but if you're like, oh, so-and-so's dad told me this is what's happening. All right, I'll take that with a little bit more validity. Yeah,
it was a relation to a player, and I say that also because it does at least, I found it interesting, because it does at least give us an idea of what, I don't want to say what he was doing. It's not that I really care if he was getting dinner or, hanging out at the beach with his family. But if you're trying to correlate it with, well, was he meeting with South Carolina? Were they dotting I's and crossing T's? No, he has spent the last 2 days doing exit meetings with his players. Now, my understanding, I will add this, per what I was told, at least in the exit meeting that I was told about, it didn't come up of whether he would be there or not. It was just, you're basically, here's what, it's what you would think. Here's what you need to work on next year. Here's where we stand. Here's where you stand. Here's everything. But that was the very simplicity of it. And I was told that meeting lasted for that particular player like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it was done.
And you've seen a handful of Coastal players go ahead and jump in the transfer portal, which, again, goes in line with their season ending and the portal opening up on Monday, as those exit meetings are happening, where Schnall's saying, hey, here's what we see out of you, here's what we would think for next year, and all that kind of stuff. And those guys obviously have the ability to, if they want to continue their career somewhere else, do that, and they're doing that. So I don't read into all these Coastal players jumping in as like, oh, that's the sign that Schnall's leaving. Like, no, that's just kind of the case in all of college sports now. When the portal opens, you're going to have a handful of guys, jump in there. Now, if he does end up coming to South Carolina, could a lot more jump in and some of them come to Carolina? Absolutely. But I don't read into like, well, these guys are going in the portal, that means Schnall's definitely leaving.
Well, like I said, the way I was told it is just that basically, like, this is your typical end of the year, hey, here's where we are right now. You're off to the summer, and then obviously but the reason I found it interesting and tweeted it out last night is because for all the speculation, well, he's close, he's doing this. Look, there's a lot to be going on. His third party could still be talking with South Carolina and Jeremiah Donati. Mm-hmm. There could be a lot. Agents and lawyers could be working contracts out. There's a lot that could be going on, right, Tyler? But what I do know now, and I believe to be a fact, is that yesterday Kevin Schnall was in Conway dealing with his current situation, his current team, and was not at a lizard thicket of any type throughout the state.
We at least know one he wasn't at.
Yeah. Well, two, I think. Wasn't it two?
Yeah. Well, I think someone in the text line said there was, which there's a lot of lizard thickets, so he could have been at one we didn't have eyes on.
So anyway, with that being said, that was the newsy information, and I'll be honest, I would have never shared it on Twitter. But I couldn't help it. I was like, well, everybody else is putting out random, who knows what information. Let me share something that I at least know to be fact, or what, at least I'm getting it from someone who would know that it would be factual. So we rolled along with that. But yeah, no information. It does feel like today, and I circle back to it because he's now wrapped up his duties. And by the way, I thought about this after I talked to somebody. I was like, that does fit Kevin Schnall. Kevin Schnall was like, let me handle my situation first, and then I'll deal with y'all. But it is my right thing to do, and meet with my players, not about taking the job, but about the end of our season.
And hey, look, if he is your guy, I don't think you're going to twist his arm like, no, we got to get this done today. Like, handle your business, tie up your loose ends at Coastal Carolina, and then we'll take steps forward. Here, again, we don't know if that's going to happen or not, right? Apparently, according to Cloninger yesterday, there are multiple candidates being interviewed. Who those candidates are, we do not know, but it's multiple ones, so that means greater than one. So it's not just Schnall here. And again, we'll see. We'll continue to refresh Twitter, Gamecock Central, Big Spur, all those as the day goes along, and we'll see if we learn anything between now and 3 o'clock.
I did find, just scrolling and scanning yesterday, and you tell me what you think of this. I'm gonna read you. This is from Jamie Bradford, and I want you to when you hear this, because I thought about actually texting Jamie and JC yesterday and being like, wait a minute, something here doesn't add up. But I have to go back and find the actual post or tweet. It was on Gamecock Central Gamecock Central. But basically, they said nothing is imminent, but they would be surprised if it wasn't by Friday or Saturday.
Okay.
Well, here's my thought on that. Okay, that's no problem. But you're not going to announce Steve Schmidt or Skylar Meade or anybody that's in a super regional this weekend, right?
Of course not.
Like, if we're saying, hey, if you're an insider, and I'm asking y'all if y'all agree with this. If you're an insider and you're saying, guys, it's what was said yesterday is not true. He's not definitely the coach yesterday, but everything's close, but there are other candidates, but it'll be done by the weekend. Then my thought went, well, that it rules out Sabins.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to announce him in the middle. You're not going to have him coaching the first inning and have the news break, I would assume.
Could you see, and they do this with all the games in the postseason where they always mic up the coach for like a part of a half inning, like, hey, coach, your guys are leading 5-3 going into the 7th. Also, you just took the South Carolina job. How's that? Yeah, it's probably not going to happen.
So I was curious, and I was busy yesterday, grilled out with the kids and hung out and watched, and we'll get into it, watched the NBA Finals last night. But I meant to actually text you. I was like, well, and I wasn't asking for who they knew it was. I didn't want to know sources. That's not what I wanted to know. But I wanted actually some clarity on that, because I know a lot of y'all are subscribers at Gamecock Central, at Gamecocks 247 and everything. And I just couldn't help but wonder if indeed we're saying that, hey, we're going to have a name. Like, there's going to be an announcement by the weekend. And we're under the belief that Steve Sabins is number 2, or let's just say Skylar Meade.
Mm-hmm.
Well, doesn't that kind of eliminate them? We're not going to do this.
Yeah, I mean, like you would think, right? Because
they come up to bat, like they got their team coming up to bat in the 3rd inning, and Terry Ford is up to bat, batting .346 this season, and Skylar Meade has just taken the South Carolina job. Like, that doesn't add up to me.
By the way, that would not go over well inside the stadium if that were to happen. It's like when the news of Andrew Luck retiring during that Colts preseason game, and people are like cursing him and flipping him off. He's walking off the field. Yeah, that wouldn't go too well. But you're right. Like, and this goes back to what Schnall said the other day or the other week on another radio program where he says, like, I haven't talked to Carolina specifically, but my representation has. Right. Because guess what? When you're coaching in the middle of a getting set for a postseason run, that's your focus, right?
Yeah.
You don't have the opportunity or the time to sit down and talk about a job. Now, again, once your season's over, that changes. But yeah, Sabins, Fitzgerald, Skylar Meade, whoever you want to say is still a candidate that's playing this weekend, they're not going to have the opportunity to do that.
That was the only thing. I could have misread it. It could have been a miswording on their part where, let's just hypothetically say it is Steve Sabins that, again, behind the scenes, Sabins getting ready for his team. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious. I think I'm more curious in this coaching search how you go about when you do a face-to-face interview, if you've had this much time to prep, like what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. Because we've heard about people. Eric Bieniemy, I think, is the one that always comes to mind. Eric Bieniemy, the former NFL, I actually don't think he's a former. I think he's now still with the, I don't know who he's with now.
He was in college recently. I forget where he went.
Did he go back to college? Well, anyway, remember, he was considered, this great offensive mind. He was with the Chiefs, and he was going to be this great. He's with the Commanders now.
Okay.
And remember, he was supposed to be this great up-and-coming coach. He was the next guy. And then a year goes by, and he doesn't get taken. A year goes by, he doesn't get taken. And then the third year goes by, and he doesn't get the job. And all of a sudden it came out, he's a bad interview.
Yeah.
He's a bad interview. He doesn't come across well. I guess my point on that is, like, how much stock do these ADs put these, like, one-on-one facial interviews? Because not to bring up a sore point, not to open an old wound, but one of the supposed, this isn't factual, but I've heard it from a lot of people, reasons that Will Muschamp got the South Carolina job was he had an A-plus interview. Like an A+, I don't know, go with an A or plus or an AAA plus, whatever you want. But
yeah.
Will Muschamp's interview, and I think if you ever heard Will Muschamp talk, like just talk and sit there.
He knows his X's and O's.
You'd be like, yeah, okay, I can see where I could be tricked into this guy being a head coach.
Well, I kind of view it almost like a coaching search is almost like taking a class, right? Where the face-to-face interview, final interview, whatever you want to call it, very important. It's kind of like the final exam, right? Like it is going to weigh heavily into your grade, but it shouldn't be the end-all be-all. There are other parts of it, your plan, your resume, and all those kind of things that factor in as well. Again, the face-to-face interview does matter, but I don't think it should always be the end-all be-all, right? Because there are some guys that may not interview well, but could still be a phenomenal head coach if you do hire them. Again, every AD is going to do it differently, but I view it more as pieces of the pie than, hey, the sit-down interview is the end-all be-all here.
And by the way, Bieniemy now, thank you to Stephen for...
He was at UCLA for 1 year.
He just got hired back in January to Kansas City. Wikipedia was telling me it's got all the Commanders logos. Why does it have Commanders logos? He hadn't been with Commanders since 2023. Stupid Wikipedia and confusing the radio host.
That's why you're not supposed to reference Wikipedia.
It does have his picture there on there of Kansas City. But but anyway, it's not the smartest, but that's all right. That's what I went with real quick just to look him up. But he's back with. But that's how I wonder about that. And y'all think about people that have been hired in time. I believe that was another thing about Mark Kingston, and you can see it. Mark Kingston very analytical. Mm-hmm. The way he interviewed, did it make him the best candidate for the job? Maybe not, but he got the job because of supposedly a great interview.
It also depends on who's doing the interview and what are they wowed by, right? Because if you're wowed by stuff on a whiteboard, then yeah, a coach that is just very analytical, it can dissect X and O's, is probably going to blow you away. If you're more interested in philosophy and mindset and those kind of things, it's going to be different. So we're still, in this whole process, we're trying to understand and learn the way Donati goes about it, because we just don't have that for him here at Carolina. We can look at things that he did at TCU, but this is a brand new venture for him at South Carolina, to where we don't quite know. We had an idea of what Ray Tanner was. Yeah. A really good idea of when it came to his hires and stuff like that. Obviously, a lot of them didn't end up working out, but we're still trying to figure that out for Jeremiah Donati and what he is and how he goes about these processes.
So, with all that being said, we'll see. We'll see how it kind of plays out, but at least as of yesterday, I'll just say, according to a very close source who saw him, we were going through where is he not, a source saw him in his office meeting with Coastal Carolina players. So that's what he was doing yesterday. So we'll get more into that a little bit. Is not much information other than that to share with you. We'll do that, get into a little bit of the South Carolina Hall of Fame teams. Andy Demetro will join us at 12:30. A lot to do. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. You know the company that's been there for us, my family, your family, our businesses, whatever it may be. They've been there for us for over 30 years, being the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And the reason for that is because of their professionalism, the customer service, the way that they think about your roof 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And by that, I mean that if you can give them a phone call, if you have an issue, you don't know when leaks are going to happen. If you have an issue at midnight, at 1 a.m., at 2 a.m., what happens is you call Mid-State Roofing. There's somebody waiting on you. They're thinking about your roof right there, midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I'm not saying it's the most glamorous life. I'm telling you it's the life that helps you, the customer, the best. And that's why Mid-State Roofing has been the leader in the waterproofing and the waterproofing world for over 30 years. Give them a phone call today, 803-356-1919. I will say this, and I don't know if we've addressed this enough, Tyler, for the perfect storm. Like, there was a lot of talk about the men's basketball job and if South Carolina should open, who they would have to go against. Then all of a sudden we saw North Carolina open up.
Right.
That opened up. Boston College opened up. You know, there was, Georgia Tech opened up. Like,
Yep.
all of a sudden you started having a lot of different jobs open up. And now, mind you, in basketball it's different because in baseball, South Carolina is probably a top 15 job.
Yeah.
If you want to back it out to top 20, you want to be that person.
I think you make an argument for top 10.
I think you can make an argument for top 10. I think you can go anywhere from 10 to 20 and you know, state your case, and that's fine. South Carolina basketball, let's be honest, is pretty much outside of a top 50 job.
Yeah.
Might even be outside of a top.
I mean, there's 70-ish Power 4 schools.
Call them high majors.
High major, yeah, because you got to have the Big East in there as well. So 75-ish high major schools in college basketball. Carolina's definitely in that, like,
65. I can tell you
65
5. I've had that conversation.
Yeah.
I've talked to multiple coaches. They're outside of the top 60. But this is kind of interesting. And I don't know. I've never paid attention. But this caught my attention last night. It caught my attention after we brought it up yesterday. I think it was yesterday. And then I really looked into it last night. It is strange that at least at this moment, now we still have super regionals and College World Series to go through, and things can happen, and you know, things evolve, right?
Yep.
But that we haven't seen more turnover amongst, I don't want to say big names, but even mid-level names. Like NC State turned over, but they had the replacement ready to go
right
then. You haven't seen. And here's part of the reason why I thought about this, too, because yesterday the rumors about Monty Lee to Coastal Carolina, we've all kind of pulled for Monty. We're like, man, I hope he goes and gets a good mid-major job, much like Skylar Meade did. I'm not even now. Again, I don't know. Maybe my time frame on this is just off and that it comes up more. But like we've pointed out, remember, for schools that are out of it that might actually be making a change, transfer portal is open.
Yep.
So it feels like in baseball, you're not seeing, there's no news right now, by the way, on Kevin O'Sullivan. And to me, that would seem to indicate that Kevin O'Sullivan's not going anywhere.
Right. If they were going to make that move, that's something that would have happened Monday or Tuesday.
I'd assume.
You know, because right after their season ends. And I look at all the remaining 16 teams that are left standing, and I don't see any of them firing their coaches no matter what happens this weekend, right? So yeah, it's a very light cycle in terms of jobs that are open because you had Grand Canyon, NC State, Houston, and South Carolina. I think that's it.
Was it Houston?
I think it was. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I think it was Houston.
For some reason, I was thinking Texas Tech, but it might be Houston. Okay.
So you only had a couple jobs come open.
That's strange, right? Like given the world we live in and sport. I mean, I'm not just relating it to baseball. I'm kind of talking across the board of jobs that come open where, you know, even if there's a butterfly effect. Now, the one change is basketball. We will occasionally see the coach go to the NFL, and that opens a job.
Sure.
Football, obviously, every once in a while, very rarely, but every once in a while, somebody takes that jump.
And, you know, last year you had a couple of high-profile jobs with Fratello going to San Francisco.
Yeah.
To take the MLB job. And then you had Mississippi State. After they'd already fired Lamonis in season, but they got Brian O'Connor, which then opened up Virginia. So you had a lot of jobs that came open in last year's cycle. So, yeah, and I'd have to go back and look at the averages per year on how many jobs come open. But it definitely feels like, considering, I don't even know how many teams are, I think it's 260 some odd teams that play Division I baseball. Considering the number of teams, that's a really low number for jobs being open.
Yeah, I say all that because for one of the few times I can ever remember, and y'all can weigh in, 803-404-6100, for one of the few times I can ever remember, South Carolina's the pick of the litter of the jobs. Like, if Dan Fitzgerald and South Carolina's going to pay top 12, we definitely know top 15 money. I think Maneri, I've said this multiple times now, I'm blanking on it, but I think he was top 13. I think he was the 13th highest paid coach in the country. So South Carolina's going to pay you top 10 money. And as we've said before, listen, the resources are here. And I don't know what this means, but Tyler, I'm sure maybe Jack tomorrow, when you're talking to him, Jack can maybe describe it a little bit better. You know, because the rumor we keep hearing is, we're going to invest more in the resources, the NIL and everything. You know, we're going to do more for the baseball program to enhance getting people here. And I say that because it feels like South Carolina's going to go toe-to-toe with as many resources as anybody else. And at that point then, you look around and you go, okay, well, what's the holdback on this job? And I know this is stupid. I know it. Don't text me. Don't text in. Don't tweet at me. But then you got to look at, well, is Founders Park the nicest park? Yeah, coaches want to coach in a nice park.
Sure.
They want to coach in an upscale park. Founders Park is fine. We've talked about it. I think it could use some serious upgrades. And that's why we asked a couple weeks ago about, what would you do for the park to make it a little more intimate? I mean, listen, when you get Founders Park to me is in a similar way to Colonial Life Arena. It's monstrous.
Yeah.
And when you get everybody in there, I don't know of a better venue. Alex Box is really good. Mississippi State's really good. Baum Stadium at Arkansas is really good. I mean, the SEC is home to all the really good venues.
Right.
But when you put that many, when you pack that place out for a big weekend, a big Friday night, big Saturday series, Founders Park doesn't take a back seat to anybody. Now, again,
you just have to pack it out.
Yeah. Again, could you use? Could it have a few like facelifts and things here and there? Yes. Could you do a few more things to make it a little more intimate? Yes. But with all that being said, I don't ever remember South Carolina being the cream of the crop job. And I think I had JC on about this the other day, and JC said, well, he goes, you get in football. He goes, you get in football, and a job opening comes up, and you're like, oh, we should go get that guy. And you're like, no, I don't think that guy's going to take South Carolina. Like, that ain't the job. Baseball, you're like, he might take it.
Yeah, it is. And look, at some point, Dawn Staley's going to retire, so we'll have the conversation then of if they don't just promote an assistant, okay, who's going to come take that job? And you'll have a similar conversation there. But the other sports, yeah, you can't legitimately say this is a job, football, basketball, that anybody would want, right? There is a limit in terms of who would probably come here to take those jobs. But with baseball and its history, yeah, this job is legitimately open to where anybody feasibly could be your next head coach. And that's exciting because, again, your possibilities are kind of endless there, which is why we've all very quickly gravitated towards Schnall because of what he did a year ago and he being in the state and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, nobody's off the table because this is viewed as such a high-end job in college baseball. And that's not just reflected from us, like national people, D1 Baseball, Baseball America, they reflect that as well, saying, hey, this is a really good job. They invest, going to pay you well, all that kind of stuff. So it's not off the table for anybody to be a candidate.
No, it's not. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, Kevin Schnall watch continues on, and we'll find out soon enough. I do think I'm being serious. Yesterday there was a lot more joking about sources and what everybody's just putting out. Has everybody died down today? I've been kind of busy this morning, so I haven't been able to get on the old Twitter machine quite as much. Has it died down through the first 6 hours? I'll go to 6 a.m. to noon. Has it died down on people like speculating? I know you've been doing a radio show, so you haven't been able to really get into the Twitter stuff today.
I haven't scrolled too much, I will say, because there was somebody yesterday at another radio station within the state that was pretty declarative about things actually happening, and now people looping around like, hey, man, what the heck? Like, I think that's kind of what I've seen today.
Yeah, no, and I joked, Terry and myself and Tyler, we all joked, I think Jay Phillips yesterday. I mean, it's the equivalent of me coming in here every day, January 1st through December 31st, and going, snow is going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And finally, when it snows, told you.
Yeah.
Told you. Got it right.
It happened 8 months later, but you were technically right. It's like, well, yeah, South Carolina is going to hire a coach.
And I honestly, truthfully believe Kevin Schnall will be the next head coach, but when you put a definitive, well, it's done, it's doing the, all right, yep, no problem with you, buddy. I haven't checked Twitter. I'll scroll through that.
Yeah, I'll give it a scroll during the break.
We'll see what's out there. When we come back, Andy Demetra joins us. We'll talk with him about South Carolina's baseball history, the 2011 and 2010 teams being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's the Halftime Show. My apologies to the one and only, the great Andy Demetra. I got long-winded there complaining about sources as it pertains to the South Carolina baseball coaching search, Andy. You know how coaching searches go, man. Everybody's got a source. Everybody's got a grandma that knows what's going on. And over here right now, you covered it. You know the thrill. You know the love and the passion of South Carolina for baseball. And, boy, everybody right now knows who the next head coach is and when it's going to happen.
Everybody's got sources. Yeah, hard to separate fact from fiction sometimes. So I don't mind anybody getting on their soapbox. No problem on my end.
Well, unfortunately, I cut your minutes by a few, so I'll have to beg you to come back on, buy you a steak dinner if that's what you're into, to get you to come back on. I do appreciate you taking time out, and the reason we're having you today, you were the storyteller. You were the guy behind the words, and obviously people still resonate with Kiss the Ring. You were there, and the 2010-2011 South Carolina baseball team, first time ever a team will be inducted into the South Carolina Hall of Fame. But, Andy, you got to live those moments. You got to travel. You got to be on the inside. From a sports fan's perspective, not an announcer, but from how much fun was that for you watching those teams, those characters, all of it come together?
It was a lot of fun, Bill. It was plenty nerve-wracking along the way and suspenseful. I'm sure those 2 years aged me considerably when you're riding that high wire of the postseason where you know your season could end at a moment's notice. But that team and those teams really, there's never going to be another type of team like that in college baseball. To win 22 consecutive NCAA tournament games, it's hard enough to make it to Omaha. It's even harder to win it. It's even harder still to win back-to-back. And for South Carolina to do so without a loss after that first game against Oklahoma in 2010, I don't think that'll ever be duplicated. So tremendous honor for those teams to get inducted as a group into the Athletics Hall of Fame. And, yeah, it's one of those times where you're just along for the ride. You never take it for granted because you never know when you may have another opportunity to experience it again. But just still so many moments and memories that remain so vivid from those years in Omaha and the seasons at large, and something I'll always look back on really fondly.
Now, did you practice that call in the mirror? Was it something that came naturally? How did you prepare yourself for the announcement once they finally got that walk-off win in 2010?
Yeah, Tyler, so I've been asked that question a lot in my career, and my answer is not really. I did not really kind of rehearse that line or have it scripted up. And I know that sounds like an equivocation, but here's what I mean. I didn't want to have a call scripted out word for word for a couple of reasons. Number one, I was very sensitive about having a final call that would sound contrived or not authentic to that moment. Also, by that point in South Carolina's run in Omaha, I got so darn superstitious. I didn't want to have this elegant final call all sketched out in my mind, only for UCLA to come back and win those next games, and I'd feel like I was single-handedly responsible for prolonging the chicken curse. So the only vague idea I had in my mind going into that championship series, should South Carolina win it, was something about a wait being over, and that was as much thought as really put into it. In hindsight, that was probably a bit of a risk, but I just trusted myself to read the emotion of that moment. So forward to the bottom of the 11th inning at Rosenblatt, everybody in their mind can still hear that ping of Whit Merrifield's bat. And as the ball is leaving the field, I call it like I would a normal play, swing, line, drive, right field, it drops. Then my eyes dart toward third base, and you see Scott Wingo stomp home. And as he touches home, I say, the game is over, the game is over. And I say it twice because I'm in disbelief like everybody else that, oh, my gosh, South Carolina just won the whole doggone thing. And somewhere between that first and second, the game is over, some synapse fired off in my brain that said, hey, dummy, the game isn't just over, the wait is over. And so that's how it tumbled out of my mouth. The game is over, the wait is over, the Gamecocks are the national champions. And, they're just very humbled to have the opportunity to call a moment that meant so much to so many. As a broadcaster, you're always relieved that you don't stumble over your words in a moment that you know is that significant, and very flattered that Gamecock fans seem to remember these years.
Andy Demetra joining us, one of the absolute best in the business, and I think now you're unfortunately for us, you're getting to be more well known for the Georgia Tech kick a few years ago down over in Ireland. I'd love to spend more time with you asking how that Ireland trip was, all the fun things you got into. But back to baseball, I don't think people forget, but the way obviously it ended, you just mentioned it, the Whit Merrifield single, but about a week and a half, probably 2 weeks, 2 weeks prior, you get to call another just incredible moment. I remember sitting on my couch and thinking it's over. Gamecocks are down 9-7 in the 8th. Bases are loaded. Christian Walker's up. But the thing about that one, Andy, and I don't know how you feel about this, you were on the road. You're not in a neutral site setting. You're in Conway. I think we're actually playing in Myrtle Beach at that time, I believe, down at the Pelicans Park. But describe that, because obviously if South Carolina doesn't hit that home run, if Christian Walker doesn't become Super Walker, we're never talking about these moments potentially. And that call had to be just as much fun, really, maybe, as winning a national championship.
And it was an unexpected moment. The first thing I remember, as I think most Gamecock fans do, is the temperature that weekend at Myrtle Beach was approximately the surface of the sun. And everybody remembers Christian Walker's clutch home run, and rightfully so. But like you had noted, Bill, it was 9-7, bottom of the 8th. There were 2 outs, nobody on it. Jackie Bradley Jr. walks, Adrian Morales doubles to keep the line moving. Without those 2 guys, Christian would not have been in that position to hit that home run. And he took a couple of bad hacks early in that bat. It was 0-2, but, boy, he took that hanging slider and he sent that into the Atlantic Ocean. And so all of a sudden, you're bracing yourself for the potential of a winner-take-all Game 3. And because Coastal really had to labor to get past College of Charleston in the regional the weekend prior, they weren't able to use their number 1 starter in games 1 or 2. He would have been their guy in Game 3. And so you feel like had been able to extend that super regional, you feel like Coastal might have the momentum and they might have the better starting pitcher. But Christian Walker hitting that home run, and all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, you're 3 outs away from Omaha, and you got Matt Price trotting out of the bullpen. Just a remarkable turn of events that can happen so suddenly, as you know, in college baseball. But, yeah, there are so many heroes and so many clutch moments along the way just to be able to hoist that trophy. And we're not sitting here talking about South Carolina winning the first of its 2 national titles. We're not only for Christian Walker's home run, but a really patient at-bat by Jack Bradley Jr. and a clutch double by Adrian Morales to get them to that point.
Before I let you out of here, and again, I totally apologize for going long-winded. We'll definitely get you back on in the coming weeks to just talk college football as well and what's going on at Georgia Tech and how you see everything kind of shaping out. That run, let's eliminate the Coastal Carolina game that we talked about. Let's eliminate the national championship games. Your favorite game to call? There's a lot of them during your time here at the University of South Carolina. And of course, you did a phenomenal job. What was your favorite game to call that really stands out to you?
Man, it's so funny and borderline sacrilegious, Bill, to not mention the UCLA walk-off or the win against Florida to capture those national championships. But the game that I will remember for the rest of my career is Game 1 of that championship series in 2011 versus Florida. I don't think I'll ever bear witness to a game as improbable as that again, where South Carolina made so many daring escapes to extend the game. You think about Scott Wingo's RBI single in the bottom of the 8th when South Carolina just could not barrel up Hudson Randall. He had thrown 14 consecutive scoreless innings entering that 8th inning against South Carolina. And then Scott Wingo, after taking 2 bad swings and misses, was able to ground one right past his hand and into center field to extend the game. And then bases loaded, nobody out, bottom of the 9th inning for Florida. South Carolina, the game prior versus Virginia, remember, in the extra innings, they had also escaped a bases loaded, no-out jam. To do that once is hard enough. To do it in back-to-back situations, you never see. But yet they were able to do that. And then Jake Williams' throw home to cut down Cody Dent and the tag by Robert Berry. That was Jake Williams' first outfield assist the entire season, and it happened under those circumstances. And then there are always some statistics that will be seared into my brain forever, Bill. And if you go into that 11th inning of Game 1, Christian Walker, basically batting with one hand because he fractured his hamate 2 days prior, hits that single. He had 3 stolen bases all year. Ray Tanner calls for a hit and run with Adam Matthews. Mike Zunino was the catcher for Florida. He was the Johnny Bench Award winner that year. He had one error all season in 458 chances. Of course, Christian Walker jailbreaks for a second. Zunino airmails that throw. Christian scrambles back up to his feet. The throw from center skips past the third baseman into the seats. And so in this one chaotic 15-second sequence, you have something that you never expected to see from the best defensive catcher in the game. And, one of the slower base runners in South Carolina in Christian Walker, and leads to the go-ahead run, the game-winning run. So it's one of those things where just one moment like that would be enough for you to remember. But South Carolina had about a handful of them from the eighth inning on to be able to win. And that was when you knew there was no beating this team, that they were going to go back-to-back for the Garnet and Black. And I felt like I had sweated as if I played the game walking out of TD Ameritrade that night, but certainly one that was for the history books and one that I'll always remember in my career.
Andy, we appreciate it. I look forward to having you back. I got your phone number now. I can track you down whenever I want, buddy, man. I hope you're enjoying your summer. Football's not far around the corner. We'll catch up with you then.
Can't wait. Appreciate it, Bill. Thank you, guys.
Take care. Andy Demetra, the former Gamecock voice, did a phenomenal job. We'll come back, wrap up hour number one. It's the Halftime Show. Thank you to Andy Demetra, Gamecock former announcer, but he was on the call for South Carolina, and it's kind of funny. Tom goes by, and I think it's Florida in 2010. Now all of a sudden I'm blanking.
Wait, and who they beat?
Yeah.
UCLA.
UCLA in 10, Florida in 11. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. I went to say it out loud. Do you ever go to say things? This happens to me a lot. Not great when you do a radio show, but when things are, for example, did you know Brazil was not the host of the Summer Olympics 2 years ago? But when you
were shocked by that.
I had multiple conversations about that yesterday. But anyway, as time goes by, you're like, wait, when did we beat? Was it this team first? Was it that team second? Like, I'll be honest, I get it slightly confused. I can kind of remember it, but the order of the big bowl games beating Michigan, I want to say Michigan first, the 11-win season, Michigan first with Clowney, beating Nebraska second, and then beating Wisconsin third back into Citrus there in the main bowl run. Then you can throw Florida State was a loss back in after the SEC championship year. But thank you so much to Andy. A good chance. You know, we're playing those liners about going back down memory lane, given what's occurred the last few years, and pretty cool honor. I don't know how they'll go about honoring them. Like, do you bring the whole team up? Do you let the whole team on stage?
I think they're all, as many of them can be, are there.
Yeah.
But it's probably like Ray Tanner that just goes up there and accepts it on behalf of everyone, right?
I'll say this. I get it. I'm not going to sit here and defend Ray Tanner as the athletic director. Y'all have eyes. We know where this program is at. What went wrong, like what actually went wrong, I don't know. I don't know if it was not being a good businessman. I don't know if it was being too much of a coach as AD. I don't know if it was not getting the funds correctly. I don't know. And maybe it was all of it. I don't know. But I will beg of y'all, of South Carolina fans, I beg of you. The Ray Tanner athletic director era is over. It's time to embrace him as the greatest coach. And Dawn Staley may take that from him one day. I know Dawn's got more championships. And then there's always going to be some of y'all who have, even though he never won a championship, never really did much in the postseason. There's always going to be some of you because of how much fun it was that I wasn't alive for the Frank McGuire eras.
Okay.
Back in the 70s. But Ray Tanner's the best coach that's ever graced a sideline dugout, whatever you want to call it, at this university. And I will beg of y'all right now, it's time to bury the hatchet on whatever just occurred as an athletic director. Just let it go. It's in hindsight.
It does take time.
You don't stop yelling at the iceberg for sinking the Titanic. Move on. And Ray Tanner did monstrous things for this university. And is the baseball program, unfortunately, under his watch as an athletic director, has it fallen to depths? I mean, unseen? Yes.
Yep.
And that's a shame. But this is a good way with the Hall of Fame to use one of those Men in Black blinky light things and forget that era and go back to a great time in South Carolina. All right, we'll come back. Hour number 2 on the way. Doug Turnbull set to join us for some NASCAR talk plus some college football talk. Thank you again to Andy Demetra for joining us there. And I know Dave will get that podcast segment up, and if he hasn't already, does a phenomenal job. Dave does a phenomenal job. We pick on him occasionally, and we get Dave's stories. What were you telling me the other day? I got to admit, I am fascinated by Dave's apartment because, you know, if you've listened to our program these last almost a year, we're coming up on a year for the three of us. You've listened to Dave uses his oven for storage.
Right.
Right.
And apparently he's got 50,000 guitars in his apartment.
What? Actually, 18. It's 18, right, Dave?
We can't hear you.
Yeah, 18.
18. So I pay attention. Trust me, y'all. I pay better attention than you realize. I might look like or might act like I'm not paying attention, but I get the words. He's got 18. Well, then Dave and Randy, our technician, were all sitting outside yesterday. And Dave, I believe you correct me if I'm wrong, Dave was describing an area in his apartment that's got a really nice setup for, what do we want to call it, computer equipment, for production equipment, as if you're designing a movie or you're the one out there putting out graphics on the internet or voice recordings. You've got a very nice, you and Randy were talking about what y'all had and the price of what you had, and I think you were saying you've got 2 or 3 screen monitors there. So I'm fascinated by this computer laden guitarish place where it feels like the kitchen is an absolute disaster that you don't go into unless it's an absolute necessity. Does that seem about right?
Yeah, it's pretty close, yeah.
Well, it's like I'm envisioning the guitars. There's not a speck of dust, dirt, or anything dirty near them. Like you might have a stack of plates like 20 high in the sink, but those guitars are pristine. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, in fact, 2 apartments ago, long ago, it's a long time, the AC went out and the landlord never fixed it.
Oh, boy.
So I had to go to like Walmart and buy one of those window air conditioners. I didn't put it in the bedroom. I didn't put it in the living room. I put it in the room where the guitars stay.
Sounds about right.
And any guitar person would tell you that's the thing to do.
Okay. All right.
You don't want them to get hot.
Yeah, you don't want to get warped and, all that kind of stuff. I get it. Now, did you sleep in that room with them, or did you just suffer in your own bedroom?
No, but my daughter told me, you care more about those guitars than you do anything else in your life.
Is that incorrect?
Like, no, I care more about you.
Guitars are number 2. Did you have to think about it for a second, though? Did you hesitate when she said that?
I might have.
Oh, wait. You got a grandchild?
Yeah, I got 2 now.
2? Okay, I was going to say, is it grandchildren, guitars, then daughter? I feel like as the daughter gets older, I feel like as my kids get older, small things can work their way ahead. Like, because the kids don't, they always need you, right? They always need you. But they don't need you quite as much at 30 as they did at 20. They don't need you quite as much at 20. Like, I'm watching my 16-year-old daughter now, and, like, number one, I don't have to, like, follow her around and make sure her finger doesn't go in an electrical outlet or, something like that. But, yeah, I feel like at 20, they're kind of on your own and you're praying for them all the time. And you're like, hey, if you're out of money, dad will take care of you, whatever. But I also feel like at 20, and at 30, I'm not going to say all the time, but they're married, they got kids, they got their own life. I feel like there's a part of a lot of, I could be wrong. I'm not experiencing this yet. But I feel like at 30, if your daughter's got a little bit of an issue, like you got a husband to go to.
Yeah.
That's his responsibility.
Austin and Ansley, if you're listening, every birthday, ask your dad where you sit on his priority list at that point in time. All right, I'm turning 17. Second, third, fourth. All right, I'm 25. Fifth, sixth. Just kind of see where you are in the pecking order each year.
I'll be honest. I don't know if this is a good dad story or a bad dad story. Daughter can drive. She's on her own. I'm not on her own because I'm paying the car insurance and I'm paying all the fun, really things that she has no clue about. And so she needs me. But, like, she's off kind of doing her own thing. She's only going to be a junior in high school, and so there are some rules and limitations we got to watch. The 14-year-old, I don't know what happened the other day. And I had a slight discussion with him about this last night. I don't quite know if he just decided to put pancake syrup all over the house. I don't know if him and the bottle got in a fight. I just know that like last night, and again, I'm transparency. I'm a single dad. I came home and I was cooking them dinner. We were cooking dinner. Thank you, Old Timey Meat Market. I got a delicious slab of tuna and some chicken skewers. And so I'm walking on my kitchen, and it is disgusting. It is sticky. It is disgusting. I wasn't in a great mood, and my shoes are sticking, and it sounds like, and then I put my hand over, I like put something down on the stove, and it's sticky there, and he's left the syrup bottle out, and I grabbed that, and it's sticky there, and and I'm like, what happened with you in the syrup? And then where we put our trash, he clearly had put the paper plate in there, but the paper plate had either fallen out or something, because then there was syrup. Like, it's just stickiness, like there was a wrapper on it all over the little area where we keep our trash. And last night I was like, what happened? Did you just dump it everywhere? I'm confused on how this occurred. And also, we've had this conversation. I'm not like obsessive compulsive disorder, but I'm a little bit of a clean freak. Like, I get when I come home, if the house isn't like perfect, it doesn't have to be perfect, but perfect example. Yesterday, I went to go to the grocery store, got to the grocery store, and realized I couldn't find my debit card.
Okay.
That's a problem.
Sure.
Especially where you're like checking out.
Yeah.
Like, you've got all the groceries, they got the groceries in the bag, and there's like 3 people behind you, and you're like, I don't have
You don't have Apple Pay?
No, I've got credit. I've got a credit. It worked. It's just, I don't know if y'all are like me. You panic. Have you two ever like gone to buy something and you can't find the card that you're going to use?
Sure.
And plus, in this day and age, if you can't find your debit card, I don't know where it's at.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much is in my bank account now.
Who has it? Who's using it? What's happening? Yeah, I get it.
So with that being said, me sitting here telling you about how cleanly so I searched the credit card everywhere. I'm going for the debit card everywhere. Turns out, I guess, I throw my wallet on my bed. It had come out of my wallet, been on my bed, had gotten under some clothes. I had thrown the clothes on the floor.
Okay.
And it was under the very bottom of the clothes.
I'm glad you found it.
So I can't say that, but nonetheless, I don't know how we got down that segment.
I don't know. Let's reel it back in.
I don't know how we got down that segment. We're going to, I tell you what, let's hit a couple things real quick, because I really like this segment that Tyler's lined up for us on Kirk Cignetti, because Kirk Cignetti's really, really interesting. But so far today, we sit here 108, Tyler. No news, and is no news good news? Like, if it's no news, does that means Kevin Schnall's still in play? Is that I will say this? You tell me. You're doing 6 hours of radio, 9 to 12, 12 to 3.
Yep.
From what you gauge from the text, the phone calls, and everything, I will say it doesn't feel that Kevin Schnall is the unanimous "we want that guy" pick.
It seems like it's not the runaway, it's only him type of thing. And again, I go back to what Cloninger reported yesterday amidst of all the rumors flying that, hey, they're interviewing multiple people. Who those multiple people are, we don't know. We can speculate. Hey, maybe it's Ostrander at Southern Miss. They got eliminated this past weekend. Walters at Wake Forest also got eliminated. So you got a lot of options out there in terms of coaches that we've talked about on and off, maybe Landon Powell, I don't know, that would make sense for being a part of this coaching search, but we don't know. We don't have those names confirmed or not. It does seem that Schnall is a legitimate name, that there is some smoke there in terms of, conversations with Carolina at least. So, I just think it's a little bit more of a vetted out process than we thought it was maybe going to be. And again, this goes back to us not knowing everything about Donati and how he goes about this, where, I think a lot of us had the mindset of, okay, Schnall's done coaching. By the end of the week, we can have something done. And Donati may not look at it in that way at all, saying, okay, I understand he's done. Now we have a face-to-face interview, but this is going to be a longer process than that before we ultimately decide on who our hire is going to be.
I would just be interested to know if Donati met with certain players. Will Craddock, for example, and it's like, Will, and we talked about this yesterday, Will, I'm going to get a good head coach in here. But there's a lot of variables at this. If said coach is coaching in a super regional, or if and this is, look, I'm speculating. I am speculating. This is not inside sources or rumors.
Right.
This is reckless speculation. If Kevin Schnall and Jeremiah Donati talked, I don't think they've met. I'm now kind of the impression, based on what I was told yesterday, that these two have not met face to face. Now, obviously, Conway and Columbia are very close, and it's not that hard. But I think Kevin Schnall. But I wonder if Kevin Schnall, and because Tyler, from what I know of Kevin Schnall, and I know his intensity and his seriousness, and this is why I do think he'd be a good fit for South Carolina. It wouldn't surprise me if, like, Tuesday morning in a phone call, Kevin Schnall said, "I will meet with you. We're going to meet Thursday at noon, at the Buc-ee's in Florence. But before then, I'm going to meet with my team. This is my team." Because one thing that stands out to me about Kevin Schnall is he is a team guy first. And I hate to say that because I would have never really thought that until then we watched Paul Mainieri. And Paul Mainieri was not a team guy first. And I can see where Kevin Schnall would have gotten back into town Monday afternoon or some point and maybe spoke with Jeremiah Donati and said, "We'll meet. Let's schedule it for Thursday. But I'm dealing with my team," because let's be honest, they're baseball players. They've had a long year. They're ready to go home to wherever their home is.
Sure.
Yeah, there's no practices left to be had. Let them get home. Let them go enjoy a month of the summer here in June. So I can now kind of see that timeline. Speculation again, not sources, speculation of that's what we're waiting on.
Yeah, it's possible. Again, it's a process that we're all learning along the way. And like you said, I think it kind of matches Schnall's personality and what we know of him as a head coach if he did decide to kind of go about it that way. And again, there's a back and forth, not only, okay, if he does meet with South Carolina, let's say today, and they laid out, hey, here's what we can offer to you, here's what the plan is. Well, he also can go back to Coastal and say, hey, here's what Carolina's giving me, here's what they're saying I'm going to get if I go there. What do y'all got? Because, again, he has a lot of reasons to want to stay at Coastal. He's got ties there, playing there, longtime coach there as an assistant, as a head coach. I think he'll give them the opportunity to say, hey, can you match this? Can you get in the neighborhood? Or else I'm going. So I don't think it's an open and shut, all right, Carolina offered me this, all right, I'm going to go take it. I think there is a conversation on the other side of, okay, what can Coastal give me that might convince me to stay?
I wonder how much his relationship with Chance Miller is, because it does feel like if you're kind of paying attention, it feels like the general consensus is that Chance Miller will not be at Coastal Carolina much longer. We know he's in the mix for the Virginia Tech job, and Virginia Tech has hired a service, and they're starting to vetting people. So I wonder if Kevin Schnall also takes that into account, like, hey, I'll stay here, but I don't know who my future boss is going to be. Am I going to have the same backing, the same resources? Chance Miller, if you haven't seen, there's some videos that are out there, and Chance gets out with fans before they're tailgating and really makes himself accessible and in the community. And you can't say that every AD is going to do that.
Right.
And I do wonder how much that plays. I think there's a lot more variables. Y'all keep bringing up money. I got to be honest. I think money's third or fourth down this list of what's important to Kevin Schnall. And I don't think life-changing $1 million, $1.5 million is more for maybe the potential of only 4 years is going to be anywhere near the top of the list. I know a lot of y'all are like, well, we can give it. All right, well, if you give him, an extra $1 million a year, I know that's 5, but here's what I'm saying, that if you give him an extra $1 million for 5 years, but South Carolina has a history of not being tolerant with their baseball coaches. Chad Holbrook and Mark Kingston didn't live up to the South Carolina standard. They more than lived up to the majority of the of college baseball standard. They didn't live up to South Carolina standard, and they are out. They were gone, out on their tail. And if Kevin Schnall has those kind of records, which most schools would die for, guess where he's at? He's looking for another job.
Yeah, it's very true.
803-404-6100. Is Kirk Cignetti the face of college football? You know what? The Kirk Cignetti face is everywhere. I'll explain that when we come back. It's the halftime show. So it's June 4th. What are we now? What is our countdown? 95?
93 days. 93 days until, by the way, do you know who the current number 93 is for Gamecock football?
No.
Julian Walker.
Okay.
Nick Barrett leaves. Julian Walker takes 93, which is it's an odd number for a defensive end. That's more of a defensive tackle
A
number.
little surprised by that. Maybe he couldn't get a single-digit number. Got a couple of those coming up. Number 6 will be available at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Not
I
sure.
always love an edge rusher with a single-digit number. It makes
Yeah.
him look bigger.
Yeah, I agree. It looks good. So, all right, 93. But, by the way, just you doing that, I'm serious. I miss Tommy Moody. I miss Tommy. Tommy, I don't know how much. Did you get to be around Tommy? a whole
Yeah.
lot?
No, he it was about because I started working here in December of 22, so I knew him for a little less than a year before he passed. I had him on my show just days before.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I saw him because he had his little, cubicle out
Yeah.
there, and the last day he was here, I saw him as I was leaving.
Yeah.
It was not to go down this road, but it was one of those weird moments you ever have where like your mind tells you to do something. And you're like, that's kind of weird. Because I went out the door, said bye to him as I usually do. And then I was about to leave and I was like, I got to use the bathroom. So I came back in and used the bathroom. As I was leaving, something in my mind's like, hey, tell Tommy bye again.
Yeah.
I didn't think much of it. He was busy doing work or whatever. I didn't say it. I was like, that's kind of a weird thought. And then, of course, that ended up being the last time I saw him. So that's kind of crazy to think back on now.
I miss him, but I'll tell you what, for those that didn't know, can't see behind the curtain and everything, Tommy's dedication to the Jersey Countdown, and maybe we should meet with Terry and be like, we got to do a Tommy Moody, and I don't know, something like that, Jersey Countdown. But yeah, I miss old Tommy, and he would be the one that would keep you updated on the days, who wore the jersey. And obviously his encyclopedia knowledge of the University of South Carolina was unmatched. But 93 days, and so it's coming. And I talked with JC on Tuesday about it. Official visit weekend gets going this weekend, and that'll be monstrous. So we'll talk a lot more about that. I'll be out tomorrow, by the way. I got a combination of doctor's visits and just trying to sprinkle in a vacation day or two. And maybe even catching Post Malone and Jelly Roll on Tuesday night next week up at Bank of America to get my young kid thing going again. So anyway, but I'll be up when we come back. And then when we come back, I think Tyler's out for Monday or Tuesday.
The following week.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll pass each other.
Yeah, this is actually the last day of the family here for a while here for Dave, Tyler, and myself.
We are allowed to take vacations. It is summertime.
That's right. Well, like I said, I got a big kidney doctor appointment on Monday. To be transparent with y'all, a big kidney doctor appointment on Monday. On Tuesday, I got to be in Charlotte at Atrium to meet with their doctors to see about getting on their kidney list. And then Friday, I got to go to Durham. I'm gonna go to Durham, North Carolina next Friday, not tomorrow. But I'm gonna go to Durham, North Carolina for seeing if I can get on their kidney list. And there might come to a time and a place where I have to sit there and take a segment here to talk about a live donor. If any of y'all are out there that might be willing to donate a kidney, we are getting to a point now that might need to be discussed. But anyway, there's a little preview of the schedule for the halftime show coming up over the next few weeks. As again, this will be, I guess, I didn't realize that until I just said it, the last day the family's together.
Yeah, for a while.
For about 2 weeks as we hit the summer. But while we're doing that, Kirk Cignetti's face will continue to be everywhere. Now, here's the thing I thought about this when I saw I don't know if you meant it like this, but Kirk Cignetti, I think, has come up with the facial expressions of college football.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? There's the one, was it 4th and short, where he's staring down? He's kind of...
Got to get the eye. He does the rock eyebrow a little bit. And I think he's very aware of it now. Like, going back to 2 years ago, his first year at Indiana, there were a lot of, memes that would make rounds during Saturdays of, him looking angry when they're up by 50 points. Like, oh, hey, you got the right coach, Indiana. That guy's not satisfied when you're dominating somebody. But I think he's become a lot more aware that he's doing it now, to where I think he maybe leans into it a little bit.
But he is on the cover. Am I right on this? He is on the cover. Now, today, by the way, I just got off the phone with Austin, my son, and I got to call him back in the middle of this break. Today is the day that I think they release a lot of the goods
Yes.
on EA Sport. Do we know what time? Do you?
They've been releasing it throughout the day. So
Okay.
there's been a lot of stuff about the features of the game. Mascot mode is back, by the way.
Yeah,
Excited
he
about
told me that. But then there's some is you got to buy a package to get it. I don't.
Yeah, I got to read through all the details, but they've been trickling out throughout the day. But in the past week, we've gotten the covers.
Yeah.
So you have a standard cover, and then you have a deluxe edition cover. And the deluxe edition cover will feature Signetti front and center with kind of that trademark look on his face. And people have said that the cover looks like a 2000s like raunchy comedy movie, like American Pie or Dude, Where's My Car? Because of the way they have very position and him kind of being in the front of it. It definitely looks like an American Pie like poster. But yeah, Signetti on the deluxe edition will be front and center.
I'm just looking at the images of him that come up now. Here's my thing. Signetti is 65. This feels like a man who and if you know his background, excuse me, I'm not having my best voice today. A lot of phlegm, but a man who has grinded his way through the coaching career. Been at Alabama, went to Elon, went to James Madison, other places in between, and here he is. He arrives at Indiana, not necessarily a power football school, but here he is at Indiana, and he's at the top of the game. And it's a guy who, to me, is just like, as you just mentioned with the facial expressions, is like, this is fun. I'm going to make the most of it, and I'm going to lean into everything that y'all think I might be.
Yeah, he's definitely embracing it. It's becoming part of his character. Now, again, did he set out to do that? I don't think so. But now that it's become a thing, I think he's definitely leaning into it a little bit more, which is fine. But he's definitely positioning himself as maybe the face of the sport right now. And that's definitely prisoner of the moment because they just won the national championship and he completed the most unlikely run we've ever seen for a team in Indiana going 6-0. By the way, when I was in Indianapolis, Hoosier stuff everywhere, man.
Really?
And I'm
Good.
like, if I was if I was here 5 years ago, half this stuff wouldn't be here.
I agree with you.
Right? He's got his own T-shirts and things like that. My favorite one was Kurt So Good. You know,
Clever.
which
Hurt so good.
yeah.
Hurt so good.
yeah.
There you go, Dave. There's a liner, a bumper for you to bring back. Is he the face of college football right now?
I think at the moment, yes.
Is he the face?
And if he
he surpassed Kirby and Sark and Arch Manning and I don't know who else I'm trying to think of that would be out there.
In terms of who gets talked about the most right now, it's definitely Signetti.
All right.
So I think in the moment, now again, if they go 10-2 and get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, I think that might change a little bit. But in terms of who's garnering the most attention, yes, it's Kurt Signetti.
I don't. You say that. I would say this: Indiana's football schedule this year gets a little more difficult. Their non-conference doesn't. They open with North Texas. They get a matchup against Howard and Western Kentucky, but they do go to Nebraska. Ohio State comes to Bloomington on the 17th. They got to go to Michigan on the 24th. Southern Cal, a trip out to Southern Cal on November 14th. I will say this: you go 10-2. I think he still talked about 10-2. They're in the playoff.
Yeah, they
They're in
would
the
be.
playoff, and even if they get bounced, I still think people talk about them. We'll get back to this. I want to get to Doug Turnbull. A lot of NASCAR going on. Obviously, the good, the bad, and we'll let Tyler and Doug give us all the lowdown on that. You're listening to the Halftime Show.
There's one last run for Bell in the outside lane. Can he get there? He cannot. Thinks about a crossover. It won't happen. Denny Hamlin, big-time victory in Nashville. How about it?
Welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, Captain Dave with you on your Thursday. Maybe you didn't stay up for it because it was into the wee hours of Monday morning when that happened, but that was the call of a very exciting final lap of the Cracker Barrel 400 on Sunday or / Monday morning at the Nashville Superspeedway, where Denny Hamlin gets yet another win this season, a second points win of the year, third win overall when you count the All-Star race. And as we welcome in our guy Doug Turnbull of the Performance Racing Network on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. It wasn't just that last lap, Doug. That entire race was one to watch from start to finish. Tons of action, a lot of carnage with brake rotors and tires going down throughout the race. But, man, it was a pretty thrilling 3.5 to 4 hours.
Yeah, it was, and it was close to 4 hours, that race, and I did stay up and watch the whole thing. There was a delayed an hour by rain, so it ended around 12:30 on Eastern time, and I had a 4 a.m. wake-up for my job at WXIA-TV, 11 Alive here in Atlanta, so I was running on fumes that morning, but it was worth it for all the reasons you said. Thrilling finish, and, I mean, yeah, the finish was set up by a last, end-of-race shootout. It wasn't a green-white checkered overtime finish. It was, I think, 4 or 5 laps there at the end. But it felt like we were setting up for that anyway, because while it was hard to pass back in the pack, the restarts were crazy, and it seemed like because tire management mattered so much, this is a different package on tracks of this size, okay, where it's a 1.3-mile track, so they're running higher horsepower and softer tires and a little bit different downforce under the car too. That just equals usually better racing. And then there was the attrition factor you mentioned too, Tyler, with the brake rotors exploding, which Denny Hamlin, who's the winner of that race, talked about it on his Actions Detrimental podcast this week. It's probably the difference in temperature. You're braking so much for a track that fast. It has a little bit tighter turns, and that delta in temperatures probably causes those rotors to explode. When you have attrition, it just creates another element that drivers are navigating, and these cars are usually almost bulletproof mechanically. So I was here for it, and honestly, I kind of like last year, I'm here for the Denny Hamlin. It's not quite a villain tour anymore because he's getting a lot of cheers, but I've seen him climb within one win of Kyle Busch, the late Kyle Busch, I hate to say now, all time. It's exciting.
And, the Denny Hamlin thing, of course, we talked about it leading into the season. He dealt with so much this past offseason with the lawsuit, obviously losing the championship, the way he did at Phoenix last year, of course, the unfortunate passing of his father in the house fire. Had a lot on his plate coming into the year where he even said he was kind of debating if he still wanted to do this or not. And look, when you get, especially for a guy like him in his mid-40s now, at some point, guys start to taper off a little bit. We see it with even some of the greatest of all time as they get around that age. But, man, he's still firing on all cylinders, and he has now gotten within 100 points of Tyler Reddick's points lead with that win the other night. So no slowing down for Denny Hamlin anytime soon. As you mentioned, he's one win away from, again, unfortunately having to say the late Kyle Busch in terms of the all-time win list. And I don't know how much longer he's going to do this, probably a couple more years, but he still looks as good as ever right now.
Well, here's what he said last year when he signed his contract extension, I think during the Bristol Fall race weekend, if I'm not mistaken, a year ago. It may have been the spring race, but I think it was the fall. It was a 2-year extension, so 2026, 2027. And he said he expected that to be his last contract. But plans change. Look at the career of Mark Martin, okay? Plans change. Ricky Rudd retired for a season and came back in the mid-2000s. You never know, right? So I think that Hamlin's plan is still to stay and to leave on top. And, maybe he does some part-time things or whatever in the future. But here's the deal about drivers in their mid-40s. There isn't a known cutoff. Harry Gant was winning races into his 50s. Mark Martin, I think, was about 50 or early 50s when he got that big 5-win season in 2009. And then you saw Jimmy Johnson fall off at an age before that. And it's a mixture of things. It isn't always just your age and your reaction time. It could be your risk factor. It could be just having retirement on your mind. It could be any of these things. And Denny Hamlin has every reason to believe that he should not be performing right now, except for the fact that he's performing right now. And like I said, I'm here for the story. It doesn't mean I'm rooting for a person that I'm being subjective, but I'm here for the story.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, certainly Joe Gibbs Racing always looked at as one of the best teams in the sport. And Toyota right now, rightfully so, with so many of the guys towards the top of the points there, firing on all cylinders. Yes, Chevrolet still figuring out the kinks of their new body and all that kind of stuff. But I think a three-wide battle between three Joe Gibbs cars on the last lap on Sunday night was kind of an encapsulation for what a lot of this season's been, where Toyota really kind of seems to have the advantage over the other two manufacturers, certainly at these higher speed downforce tracks as of right now.
Correct. And, I mean, it was maybe no more apparent than in this race, but also at the end of the Coke 600, you had the Joe Gibbs Toyotas all over each other, too. So that's two in a row, which really cements that notion into our minds. We go to Michigan now, a 2-mile track, and you know, the drafting involved, and maybe, I mean, it's not a traditional super speedway like Daytona, Talladega, but it just has those vibes. And does it carry over? Likely. But it's hard to know week to week. And here's the thing. You don't know what Hendrick Motorsports finds in their shop even the next week. They all know they're behind a little bit. But all it takes is 1 week, and suddenly you turned around. If I were Toyota, I might actually be worried that I'm peaking too early and that the competition is going to work extra hard to catch that few horsepower or that body adjustment or whatever it takes on their cars. So we shall see. That's why we raced 36 of them.
Yeah, and that's what we see a lot over the years as we get into the second half of the regular season, which began on Sunday with race number 14. Those teams or manufacturers that do have new things this year typically will usually maybe kind of find their stride in the middle of the summer. We have a variety of racetracks coming up. Michigan, Pocono, we're going to be racing on the naval base coming up in a couple weeks in San Diego as well. Of course, you got Daytona to wrap up the regular season at the end of the summer. Flatter tracks like New Hampshire coming up as well, Indianapolis. So a good variety and a mix that will really kind of continue to tell us who the real championship contenders are as we get close to the, again, reborn chase and determining who those, who those drivers that are going to be really in the mix for the title in those final 10 races are going to be.
Hey, I generally agree with you. I will say, number one, the 10 races at the end of the season, I think it's 5 of them that are 1.5 miles each, which has been the Toyota's biggest head and shoulders tracks above everybody else. And also, when you have a diversity of tracks coming up, like you just mentioned, if there's a through line for who's good at all of them, then yeah, that shows you who's ready to belly up and take that trophy. Although it also could just mean that you get a bunch of different results, especially if you throw the drafted track in there like Atlanta,
right?
And then you kind of don't know. So so you can argue it both ways. Certainly, if you're somebody that gets good results, then you're going to tell everybody that you're dialed in.
So as far as our picks go, I was most successful. I had Christopher Bell with a second place finish on Sunday night. You guys both ended up getting caught up in incidents. Doug had Ross Chastain to finish 37th. Bill, you had Brad Keselowski, who finished 34th. You guys are tied atop the standings right now at 37 apiece. I'm bringing up the rear with 30 total points as of right now. So, Doug, with your 37th place finish, you will get the first pick for this upcoming weekend.
Oh, man. Gosh, poor Ross Chastain, by the way. There's several drivers that have just a consistent thunderstorm over their heads right now. Okay, I was really debating this a lot, and I was almost hoping y'all would pick before me so I'd be stuck and I could just have the decision made. I'm going to go outside the box, all right? And I'm going to go Christopher Buescher, all right, as Dale Jr. called him a couple years ago. Chris Buescher is the top points getter in the Gen 7 era in Michigan and won the first Gen 7 race. And he needs to turn things around. He was the last caution of the day in Nashville. So I picked Chris Buescher among those that will do the best.
Real quick, and with my pick of Christopher Bell, he's off the board now. Our average finish, by the way, was 19.6 with him. So no more Christopher Bell for the rest of the year. Bill, your next pick.
All right. Let me, we got just a minute here because I've narrowed it down to 2.
Okay.
And I got to admit, I feel like, kind of right now is a big selection here. So let me just glance real quick here. Now you're gonna pick last.
I'm gonna
right?
pick last because I had the best finish.
All right.
Need some Jeopardy music.
I can help you if you want, Bill.
No, you can phone a friend.
I wanted to look, and I'm gonna go Ryan Blaney.
All right.
I feel like I need to.
Oh yes.
I feel like this is an opportunity here. It's interesting how Tyler set this up, Doug, in terms of trying to shoot your big guns here when you can, and when you take, Keselowski was not a big gun to me. I know he's a bigger name, but I took a chance. Didn't have a lot of expectation, but I feel like I got to come back with expectation. I'll just give you an example. I was looking at Chase Briscoe, and I couldn't get to it fast enough to make my pick. Briscoe, not taking him, but his race history at Michigan, not good. 23rd, 31, 31, 31, 20, and 11. So
no, his history at Nashville wasn't good, and he finished third on Sunday.
true, but
so
I'm going to
never
go.
know.
I'm going to go Blaney. I'm going to fire a big gun here.
I'm going to ride with a hot hand.
Michigan winner.
He's coming off 2 top 10s, led a lot of laps on Sunday night, has finished 7th in both of his career Michigan Cup races, going Zane Smith on Sunday.
Okay, yeah, a good pick.
Ooh, yeah. I like it.
All right. Well, good stuff as always, Doug, and we'll talk to you next week as we look ahead to Pocono.
Thanks for having me on, boys. See ya.
Doug Turnbull there, Performance Racing Network. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 2 with Halftime Show here on the Game.
Russ, our truly resident NASCAR fan, says, I was lucky enough to watch Denny run late models every Friday night at a racetrack called Southampton County Motor Speedway. My cousin ran late models with him. Talented boy that can drive the wheels off a car.
Oh, yeah. No, that's back to his Virginia short track days. No, he's it's hard to believe that he's been doing this now in the Cup Series for over 20 years. His rookie year was 06, and he's still just as good as ever. Right now, he's the best to never win a championship. That could change this year.
So we'll look forward to that as Michigan Motor Speedway host of this weekend's race coming up on Sunday. 803-404-6100. Some NFL news. It's been newsy. Give credit to the NFL. I know they like to stay in the news, but
I think the NBA is upset about that.
No, this goes back to what I'm curious about the NBA, and I don't know if y'all do what I do, where you evaluate yourself at times. Because I remember growing up, Tyler, I don't know if anybody else did this, and this is like 12, 13, 14. And I was like, I don't understand why my dad doesn't get into video games more often. Like, why didn't he play video? These are fun.
Sure.
And then you get to be in your 40s and everything, and you're like, oh, because I don't have time for that. Right. And so it's not that I don't get into NBA, but I definitely don't get into it in the way that I did. I used to love the NBA championship. And I had it on last night, and I was watching. And I'm intrigued by what's going on. Obviously, Wemby didn't have his best game. Jalen Brunson rose up and took advantage in the third and fourth quarter. But I'm really trying to watch this NBA Finals when I know that I don't have like a huge, not rooting interest, but like even Wemby right now doesn't excite me that much.
Okay.
Like he's a freak. And he does things, but it's not like he's doing 360 windmills and it's pretty fundamental basketball. He's just 7'4" doing it, which is incredible.
Yeah, his thing is a guy that size shouldn't be able to do all the things that he's doing. That's
Right.
what makes him unique. He's a unicorn in that sense. But yeah, it's not this like crazy ultra athletic feat necessarily, I guess is the best way to put it.
So I don't know if the NBA, they get a decent matchup. You've got some young stars. I mean, look, if you haven't paid attention, and I understand why, the Spurs themselves have young stars.
Yes.
The Spurs, we could very easily look back on this Spurs team, much like what was it, the very early editions of the Thunder when they had Westbrook, Harden.
Yeah.
People forget that. Westbrook, Harden, and Durant, and then obviously it really didn't produce anything. And you could look back now, and you could look back in 10 years and be like, man, they had Dylan Harper, they had Stephon Castle, they had Victor Wembanyama. De'Aaron Fox is a guy, a point guard that I love. I mean, you look back and be like, because all of a sudden they start to split and go everywhere. Somebody gets disgruntled, wants more money.
Sure.
You can go back and look at it and be like, man, in their early days, look at that roster they had formed. And then it doesn't come to fruition. But I don't know if there's anything that draws people to. So if the NFL is grabbing news, I don't know if they're upset about it. Could be worse. Could be baseball.
Yeah.
Where the main news yesterday is, a year and a half away? Was it where there's a pending now lockout that appears to be coming?
Major League Baseball, it kind of feels like has the doomsday clock.
Yeah.
Where we're just ticking, like, yeah, you got the season going on, and, we'll crown a World Series champion, in late October this year. But, like, everything's looking ahead. Like, okay, if they can't get these labor negotiations figured out, there might not be a 2027 season. So you have this impending doom that you're waiting for until something gets resolved for Major League Baseball. And it sounds like both sides cannot be further apart right now.
No, they can't. Yesterday, you basically had the Baseball Players Union, what do I want to call him, the head of the Baseball Players Union come out and basically all but say that it was an embarrassing offer by Major League Baseball, and that this.
Well, why would the players want a salary cap?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Why does anybody want a salary cap? But yeah, that encompasses the owners as well. They would love to have one. But yeah, to that point, like it feels like baseball. So then that leaves the NFL, and typically I think we wouldn't discuss this, but Russell Wilson yesterday, and Russell Wilson. There was a time Russell Wilson was like a star, right? Like a true star. Like,
yeah,
likable.
Sure.
Star.
Now, those early years in Seattle, which obviously culminated with one Super Bowl victory and another appearance, like he was one of the faces of the league. Now, was he the best quarterback in the league? Not necessarily, but like he was notable enough to where the casual person knew about Russell Wilson.
I forget his exact sentence. It was when he went to Denver that he hit us with the "Let's ride."
Yeah, Broncos country, let's ride.
But if you haven't seen it, Russell Wilson is retiring. He's going to go into the broadcasting booth. Which I don't know how that's going to.
I think he's going to be a desk guy. Like,
is he going to be a desk
in
guy?
studio? Yeah.
Yeah, he's finalizing a deal to become an analyst on CBS Sunday's NFL pregame show. But didn't it all go downhill when he signed that contract and had the shirtless video in bed with Sierra?
That didn't help.
I feel like that was the start. Hour 3 on the way. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. Let me tell you something. Mid-State Roofing has been there for families, just like yours and mine, for over 30 years, being the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And it's because of the way they treat their customers. That is the proven history that is your assurance that their professionals will provide proper advice, the service, and most importantly, the results to the needs of your facility. So I don't know what you're looking for, home or business, high rises, hospitals, manufacturing, industrial. Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that keeps that operation of yours dry and running long into the future. But what stands out the most, they are there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Doesn't matter what time that leak occurs, you give them a phone call. 803-356-1919. That phone number one more time to memorize, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. It is 2 o'clock on a Thursday. Let me rehash here for those of you who tune in every day. And we are so thankful for you and appreciate you contributing. Several of you on the text line, Russ, contribute each and every day. Several more of you always weigh in. And without y'all, it would just be three of us randomly talking to each other. So without our listeners, we couldn't do what we do, and I am very thankful for each and every one of you who tune in each and every day. I know Tyler and Dave are as well, and so thank you to all of y'all who do that each and every day. But for those of you who need a scouting report, I am off tomorrow, actual vacation day tomorrow, I think. Tyler will be off starting a week from Monday.
Yep.
But I am out tomorrow through the following Friday. And again, my days, to just be transparent, because there will be some stuff on Twitter that looks fun. There'll be some stuff on Twitter that doesn't look like quite as much fun. I'll have a big kidney appointment coming up on Monday, and we'll get a little bit more of a clarity on where I'm at post the kidney stone surgery. And we'll hope that continue has done a little bit of help, and then we'll know a little bit more about where I stand. Tuesday, I'll be in Charlotte to meet with Atrium Health to watch a video and meet with them that I haven't done. And then Friday, I'll be in Durham to meet with their doctors. And then along the way, I'm going to sneak in a Post Malone Jelly Roll concert, maybe get one more day off. And then I will be back on the 15th. I'll be back on the 15th. Tyler,
Yes.
will then get a little summer vacation coming in at that point for about a week. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll be out that whole week. Now, Juneteenth is that Friday,
Right.
so the week itself for work purposes only 4 days. But
Right.
yes, we will not reconvene as a collective family until that following Monday.
So, yep, but we, so the family that is the halftime show, myself, Dave, Tyler, this will be the last time you hear from us in the next 2 weeks. So, unfortunately, the way that'll play out, we assume, Tyler, that when we all reconvene, it'll be the first time that we get a chance to really discuss whomever the new South Carolina baseball coach is. We would assume in
Yes.
the next 2 weeks that we're going to have an answer to that.
Yeah, because June 22nd would be that Monday when we're all back together again. Should be if it goes that far, the last day of the College World Series.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, by then, I'm assuming we'll have had a coach by then. I would hope so.
So we will continue to watch that. Now, that brings us to Coach Search 2026. It's 2 o'clock. Let's say technically 2:03 on a Thursday afternoon. And I guess we would all agree, no news. Probably the best news, because you can't hire Steve Saban or Skylar Meade right now. And it appears Skylar Meade's name is now starting to become more and more in play. But you can't hire those. They're coaching. Kevin Schnall is done coaching. But what you have not heard is that he is officially out of the search. And the general perception is that he is still number one in that search. So I think, and I don't know, all of y'all can have different names. Dan Fitzgerald, it does feel like Dan Fitzgerald's name. Now, he's still coaching, but it does feel like his name has dropped off significantly from where it was, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it seems like Saban's has kind of passed him by. And again, maybe we willed the Fitzgerald thing a little bit further than it ever was. Because, again, he's a guy that's impressed a lot of people, really good resume, and I think a lot of us think he'd be a good fit here at Carolina if they decided to hire him. But, yeah, there seems to be more smoke around Steve Saban's than Dan Fitzgerald. Now, again, could that change if their season comes to an end this weekend? Who knows? But, yeah, as of right now, kind of seems like Schnall, Saban's, and then you can have a debate on who's after that. But those kind of seem like, at least on last reporting a couple days ago, those were kind of the top two candidates.
I will say there are other names that have obviously popped up. Let's go through some of those. We just mentioned Skylar Meade, former South Carolina pitching coach. That would actually be kind of entertaining and kind of funny because, Tyler, I've spent the majority of this time talking about, well, we're going to break away from the Ray Tanner tree. It's going to be the first time that you don't have anything that's associated with Ray Tanner. It's a brand new look. I guess technically this is still breaking away, although Skylar Meade was the coach here under a Ray Tanner regime. And by that, I mean he was athletic director. Meade was here under Mark Kingston from 2018 to 2021. So I guess there's still a difference. For those of you wondering, Skylar Meade at Troy never had a losing season. That's positive. He's had one 40-win season. That was 2023, 40 and 22. The overall record is 184 and 119 in the Sun Belt. Never had a below 500 season. He did have a 15 and 15 years first year, but he's 86 and 64. There is intimacy with the South Carolina program, as I mentioned. Skylar Meade, also of interest, is just 42 years of age. Is that right? 41 years of age. He'll be 40.
He's on the younger end.
He'll be 42 in September. So you look at him as a candidate, and here's my question to y'all, 803-404-6100. I think Skylar Meade is a very nice candidate. Is he a letdown? Is he a letdown after – because, correct me if I'm wrong, what I would say was the big three of Schnall, Fitzgerald, and Sabins. Does Skylar Meade, you're like, okay, he's a letdown?
I think that question can change depending on when Troy's season comes to an end.
I don't know. You say that, and then I'll let you finish that. South Carolina also has had a guy in Darren Horn who won one NCAA tournament game, and we hired him. No offense to Lamont Paris, but Lamont Paris had a really good season at Chattanooga, and then came within, I think, a missed corner jumper of getting to the second round of the NCAA tournament. At times, I feel like South Carolina is like, oh wait, you're the taste of the month, the flavor of the month. Let's just go ahead and take you.
Like they jump on it too quickly. Of like whoever, like you said,
basically
kind of
a 1 year
flavor
run
of the month, yeah.
Because this is the second NCAA tournament for Skylar in 5 years. Again, he's got an NCAA regional, but this obviously is a NCAA regional, and looks a little bit better. But yeah, I feel like most people would be let down, kind of like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah,
but I feel like it's a letdown.
Yeah, compared to the Schnall, Sabins, Fitzgerald, kind of as the big threes we talked about. Yeah, I think that would be looked at as a slight step down. How big of a step down? Debatable. Again, I think how far Troy goes has something to do with that as well. I don't think it's something that would cause anger necessarily. I think people would question, okay, what happened with Schnall or Sabins or whatever, but I don't think it. I think it's one you could still find a way to get excited about.
All right, so he's one name. Did y'all ever throw him in your one-on-one list?
We did, yeah. He was in there early. Again, this was way before this tournament started. If he won any challenges against others, it wasn't very long. I think he was in that run of coaches that Fitzgerald kept beating.
Okay.
Fitzgerald was our winner. We went all the way and had Fitzgerald beating Schnall.
I think he was the most. I actually think if we'd have done a large consensus, Fitzgerald was 1, Schnall was 2.
Yeah.
I actually think a large consensus would have gone with that.
Yeah. So Skylar Meade was in there. I forget how far he got. It wasn't very far.
Okay.
I'd say a 57 winning percentage in the Sun Belt Conference would be a big letdown.
Okay. No, it's fair. It's totally fair. I'm not arguing with you. That's my point being is, we look, I think, at what was the big three, and obviously the Schnall name still extremely popular, but you look at what the big three was. And then you get past those. Let's say something goes, I don't know, haywire or something. Skylar Meade's on there. I don't know the extent of his candidacy, but Josh Holliday at Oklahoma State is another name that is being brought up. Now, he will be 50 in September. So now all of a sudden you're talking about a coach that's, look, he's not old, but a little bit older. Dave, to your point, his overall head coaching record features a 65% winning record. Oklahoma State has been a very solid program under his watch. We've actually seen them here in an NCAA, I think 2 NCAA regionals. Feels like 2, might have been 1. I can't quite remember. He has made the NCAA tournament every year he's been at Oklahoma State since 2013.
Yep.
And along with that, he's got a College World Series. He's got 2 super regionals. So he has produced postseason teams since 2013, minus the COVID year, by the way. They were 13-5, though. Mm-hmm. He has got 3 40-win seasons in the last 5. His down year was actually last year, not this past year, but last year, 30-25. But Josh Holliday, I think on paper, again, looks like a very solid hire. But again, I think a lot of people around here are going to be like, And here's how I describe it.
Yeah.
And I love the guy, and I'm not picking on him. I don't mean to say this out loud, but I'm calling it as I see it. I feel like a Skylar Meade, a Josh Holliday is almost like a Mark Kingston-esque hire where you're like, all right, they get a chance.
I think Holliday definitely has a better record than a Kingston did coming in, because when you look at his resume, it wasn't crazy impressive what he had done at Illinois State and South Florida before coming here. He made the tournament. I don't think he ever made past the regionals, though, at either one of those places. But you look at a guy, and again, you're talking about a program in Carolina that's just trying to get back to the tournament before anything else. And there's a guy that's done that every single year at Oklahoma State. He is kind of a later addition to this conversation. I think it was Jamie or somebody that mentioned him for the first time the other day. And again, successful. Now he's not gone past a regional since the COVID year. So that is something significant. Like, okay, why aren't you advancing out of the first round, even though you're making it every single year? I don't know where Oklahoma State matches up resource-wise. I'd imagine Carolina's in a much better place than they are with that. So what can he do with more would be a question. But in terms of, like, consistency, yeah, he's a guy that would check a box.
Let me throw this out to y'all. 803-404-6200, because I genuinely don't know how I feel. I think Josh Holiday and Skylar Meade are fine coaches. I think you get your hopes up about the really big-name guys, Fitzgerald, Sabins, Schnall, guys who were in super regionals or were in a College World Series last year. I think those are the names that, like, you jump up and down. You go, we hit the home run, we did everything. So remember a few weeks ago, and then y'all started doing this. You started doing the one-on-ones. I'm not saying Landon Powell's the worst option ever.
Okay.
I did say there's a certain point where his name becomes questionable. His name becomes the name. If I offer you Skylar Meade, Josh Holiday, if we got, because it feels like Fitzgerald's out.
Yeah.
It feels like we're down to Sabins and Schnall. But if I offered you Landon Powell or Skylar Meade or Josh Holiday, this is now where I think you go, okay, where does Landon Powell fit into this description?
We're in the, it's like the B level. Right? Like the B level group of guys as candidates if we got that far. Oh, man.
Probably I would rank him because Holiday's done it in a high major conference, Big 12. And honestly, if you look at his record, it looks by all accounts that he would get South Carolina to a lot of NCAA tournaments.
Yeah, which is good.
Don't know if the ceiling is as high in terms of getting and winning a College World Series, but it feels like South Carolina baseball would instantly become respectable and would get to a whole lot of NCAA tournaments. Skylar Meade, I don't know. And then I know even less about what Landon Powell could do.
Well, that's the thing is, like Holiday's ceiling would probably be a little bit lower in terms of expectation based on what he's done compared to the A level with Schnall, Fitzgerald, Sabins, but it's still higher than I think what you look at what Meade's done and what Landon Powell's done. Again, the Powell thing is you're coming up an another division of baseball, right? And I get it. It's the tie to being a former player here and all that, but as we brought up before, we can go through the list of the greatest D2 head coaches of all time or the best ones right now. Are we looking at those guys? What makes the difference for Landon Powell besides his connection to playing here? So, yeah, I would put Holiday, Meade, then probably Powell if we're going to go like B tier of candidates that we're looking at. Yeah, if those are the guys that are the options.
Yeah, I'll be dead on it. If you're going to give me Landon Powell. Now we are getting into a grouping past that major three where, again, I can start to understand Landon Powell's name being brought up. Currently, there's zero reason to bring up Landon Powell's name. Absolutely zero. Landon Powell, and no offense to Landon, and I know he's a good coach at North Greenville, and Trey Dyson's good friends with him, but when we're talking top candidates, there is zero reason to bring up Landon Powell. I'm sorry. You don't make the move. A program like South Carolina baseball doesn't go to a D2 university and make that higher. And if you do want to go that route, contact Joe Urso. I don't know how to say it. I don't know if he's the wrestler or whatever. And if you don't know who Joe Usoro is, then why in the heck would you know who Landon Powell is if he's not a Gamecock? So the Landon Powell stuff is absurd to me. But, and this is where it changes when you get down the list, Tyler. Mm-hmm. When you start going down the list. If South Carolina bombs out on the three big names, okay, now I start to become of interest to Landon Powell.
Yep.
But the chances of him coming and ruining, how do I say it like Stewie who got it wrong?
Ruined.
His reputation at South Carolina, much like Ray Tanner does in AD, is far greater than him having success, in my opinion. We'll come back. We'll get into a few other topics as well. 803-404-6100 is the halftime show. Hot season. List season is upon us. We're going to get to that. Brooks Austin has a hot seat list. I don't know if I agree. We'll get to that. But tonight, game 2 of the NHL, Canes. And then that other team, the Vegas team.
The team leading the series right now?
I got a bad feeling. I'm down. I'm sad. It doesn't feel right. You ever had that feeling? You have that feeling that like you watch game 1, you're just like, I'm down.
Sure.
I'm down. But it'll be fun. It's gonna be a great environment tonight. Let's go to the phone lines. Diane wants to weigh in on the Hurricanes tonight. Miss Diane, welcome in.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Oh, I got 2 things. First, I think Skyler would be a good choice. You talk about him coming out the Sun Belt, but he defeated Florida to get to the Super Regionals. He's a great coach. We know who he is. And South Carolina have to get within reason and hire people who are good people, not named people. And I think Skyler me would be great. Okay, let me get to my favorite topic. The Carolina Hurricanes. Okay, you're worried about them? I'm not.
Oh, good.
Look at Ehlers. 2 first goals was Ehlers. He won me a prize. I was in the contest. But even though we were shooting, we were barely missing. We had 4 shots. 2 extras should have gone in. It should have been 6-5. I don't know what happened to our defense. Slavin, I tell you, he's my man. But for some reason, all of a sudden, everything was in the middle of the ice. I mean, we couldn't get the puck in. It was crazy. And the way we were playing, I was like, what is going wrong? I think there was a bad demon sitting there. He must have been a Viking because they're the Golden Knights, what you call them. Must have been a knight there keeping them out. But I think the Hurricanes will go do it. And I have a shout-out to all my Raleigh and Hurricane friends. I got Dixon, Kelly. There's a bunch of us, South Carolina, all over the place, North Carolina. And the Hurricanes will win the Stanley Cup. Hi, guys. Go Canes. We want to storm and dance.
Hey, you are welcome to call back any time to break down some Canes. That is as impressive a hockey phone call as we've got. Now, I will tell you, the Vegas controls the middle of the ice, and this was the big thing going in. And could Carolina control the middle? Could take back control of the middle of the ice? Carolina's one of the better teams at defending middle ice. And to your point, it happened 4 times on Tuesday night where the puck got behind the goal, got behind the goal line there, and Carolina went man-to-man, and Carolina just got beat. I mean, you're asking what happened to defense. They just got beat. And that final goal, you go back and look at it, and the Vegas offensive player, I forget his name, and I forget the Hurricanes defender, he just gets beat and allows the Vegas defender to get in front of him or to beat him to the goal. Great pass by Vegas and sets him up. That's my concern.
Okay.
That's my concern was that a weakness by the Panthers, by the Hurricanes, or was that a strategic move where Vegas saw something and took complete advantage of it? Because normally four out of the 5 goals come from behind the goal, which means, you got everybody's head kind of turned in a different direction. Now you go man-to-man. You're playing with more of a man-to-man. The Canes are more of a man-to-man team in certain situations. And Vegas just took advantage of them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously took advantage of them. But, Diane, thank you. That was knowledgeable. That was incredible. You are welcome. You to the front of the line. Anytime you want to call, you're more than welcome to do that. And we'll discuss some Hurricanes hockey because we don't get enough of that around here. 803-404-6100. We do speak a lot of football. And, Tyler, getting back into some college football discussion, so we're going to get this. It's June the 4th. And now everybody's putting out lists. I've seen list after list after list after list. If you have a podcast, it could be just your name podcast, whatever. You could be a big name person. Everybody's got a list right now.
Of course, it's the season of lists.
Some people are completely irrelevant. Some people, like Brooks Austin, a little bit more relevant. You pay a little bit more attention. Brooks Austin has Shane Beamer at the top of his list on the hot seat. Let's just start with this before we play the audio. Yes or no? Do you agree?
Now, we have to put in the caveat that Norvell's not on this list because he's in the already fired category.
Yes.
So if you're thinking, well, of course it's Mike Norvell, there's an exception here. I wouldn't agree with solidly number one. I would say I think he's pretty high on the list, though.
I think there's some caveats. Let's hear. This is Brooks Austin. We've had him on the program before. Does a phenomenal job. Here's Brooks Austin talking about Shane Beamer being number one on his hot seat board.
I have this mental battle, though, every single time we talk about South Carolina and Shane Beamer, because to me, he has a very hot seat going into this year, but there's so many scenarios where I still see South Carolina being like, we'll give it another try. Like, we like Shane. He likes us. He's happy to be here. We'll just keep it going.
If Kendall Briles is worth anything, they might have to keep it going. But you lose Lenoris, you lose Dylan Stewart, you probably lose Nick Harbor, you lose Jacarius Peach, you're going to lose Josiah Thompson. If he can't win this year, he will not win. He will not win at South Carolina.
Here's why I'm going to put South Carolina and Shane Beamer at number one. Because of the lack of momentum that you will have in the month of late November, early December, where you're going to close out the season at Florida versus Tennessee, at Oklahoma, Texas A&M, at Arkansas, Georgia, at Clemson. If you go 1-5 in that stretch, 2-4, that's an accomplishment. You're going to close out the season in very poor fashion. On top of that, like we just said, you're going to lose all the great players that you had. There's going to be no momentum heading into 2027 for that program. I think Shane Beamer will be fired.
With arguably your most talented rosters in 2 straight years, you're going to go 4-8 and maybe 6-6.
Yeah,
we can't do that.
No,
we can't do that. Even at South Carolina.
What do you think?
I think he brings up a really good point. We've talked about this plenty of times before about the talent, right? We talk about windows of opportunity. Now, nobody's saying that South Carolina is in a championship window by any means, but you have a window to be very successful considering the talent that you have on this team. And again, it's highlighted by kind of the big four: Sellers, Nick Harbor, Dylan Stewart, and we'll throw Jacarius Peak in there considering how high profile he was coming out of the portal, playing a very important position in left tackle. You can't guarantee you're going to have that collection of talent of those 4 spots maybe ever again, right? So if you're ever going to take advantage of that talent, this is the year to do it. Now, as they also bring up, there's a really tough schedule. And as we've talked about, there's this ongoing debate of if you win 6 or 7 games, is that enough? Well, it kind of depends on what those 6 or 7 wins are, how the losses look, who you lose to, and all those kind of things. But it would be disappointing to a lot of people if you only won 6 games. Now, again, we still don't know how Jeremiah Donati views everything because this is a new process for him here at South Carolina. So what his line of expectation is versus what the fan bases is, we still don't exactly know.
803-404-6200. We'll get back into this. Here's my question to you. I put it to you, Greg. How about you? You figured out that line yet? Animal House? Animal House? I put it to y'all. What is the definition of the hot seat? Because, and I'm saying this, I'm going to bang this drum, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Being on a hot seat means something is completely unacceptable, but I actually think Jeremiah Donati, I'm looking at the contract. I'm looking at the contracts that were just given out to Stan Drayton and Kendall Briles in particular, Randy Clements. I think there is a number that is acceptable to the athletic director that makes Shane Beamer not on the hot seat, but is not acceptable to the fan base. I'll explain that when we come back. You're listening to the Halftime Show. All right, follow me on this before y'all freak out and go running all the message boards and be like, the halftime show and Gunner said that it was acceptable. I'm not saying 6-6 is acceptable. It's not. It's not. I will give South Carolina a bare minimum this year of 7-5. I know that's not even going to sit well with y'all, 7-5. But, Tyler, and I get it. I really do truly get it with the expectations and Shane Beamer, what he said about being in the playoff, talking about the playoff range. I'm not trying to argue y'all on that. I feel like, and you can say I'm not, but I feel like I'm being realistic on this. And here's where I draw the line on hot seat. I don't think Shane Beamer is on the hot seat. I don't think he gets fired if he is 6-6. Okay. 5-7, yes.
Yep.
Like there's your line for me. 5-7, we're doing a football coaching search. 6-6, and I will say 5-7. The caveat is like the whole team didn't get injured, and you're not playing like Landon Duckworth as your quarterback the final month of the season. But 6-6, I think Jeremiah Donati brings him back. Let me again give my reasoning. They paid out some money. Now, supposedly, remember, we all wonder if we're tight on money. We're going to spend some on the baseball coach. Going to spend close to 1.5, maybe more, on a baseball coach. I don't think, and unless you're just confident that the next coach would be retaining Kendall Briles, Stan Drayton, and Randy Clements, I don't think you gave them the 3-year contracts that you would have given them if you weren't giving Shane Beamer 2 more years. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just don't see it working that way. So, no, Bill Gunner is not saying this is acceptable. Good grief, y'all. I'm not. But I do look at this schedule, and if I'm to be honest, Kent State, Towson, Arkansas, those should be wins. And Mississippi State. That's 4. After that, maybe Kentucky. I don't know what Will Stein's bringing to that table. But you're not going to tell me. Now, you should win some of these. You've had Alabama down in the fourth quarter for 2 straight years. There's no real reason to think that Florida's head and shoulders above you, but you got to go to Florida. You got to go to Florida. And you got to go to Florida, by the way, after 5 consecutive games.
Yep.
So you're kind of beat up. You're going to be kind of beat up. For all we know by then, Lenore Sellers has taken an ankle injury. You've played one half of football last year without Lenore Sellers in the Vanderbilt game. It went poorly. You played a game and a half without Lenore Sellers 2 years ago when he got injured against LSU and he didn't play against, was it Akron? Am I right about that?
Yes, that's correct.
Tennessee is talented. You get them here, you get them off a bye week. I think that's massive. Much in the same way you got to go to Florida after 5 straight games, and I would almost say like that's more likely to be a loss than Tennessee because you got to go on the road. You've played 5 straight already. You're going to be banged up. Who knows where the health of your team is? Whereas Tennessee, but Tyler, when we talk about Brooks Austin saying, and you heard that talking about the hot seat, like is going 6-6 and not getting fired, does that mean you were on the hot seat? To me, it doesn't. It means you're not on the hot seat. Your seat's warm. There's a guy standing over there with a flamethrower ready to get going.
Yeah. I don't know. Because, again, this goes back to we're going off what we think, right? We don't know exactly what Donati's criteria is. I think we're looking at this through the lens of still like Ray Tanner as AD. How would he view this? Would he keep the train rolling? Donati may look at it and say, hey, you said you were going to make the playoffs. You didn't make the playoff. All right. Let's move on and get somebody else. We don't know. We're just kind of speculating at this point. I'm kind of with you. I think winning 6 or 7 games is probably enough.
I think 6. I'm going to stick with 6.
But I don't know that for sure. Now, again, it depends on what your definition of hot seat is and where that line is. Like, I still think if you win that bare minimum of games and don't get fired, that doesn't mean you weren't on the hot seat. It just means maybe it wasn't as high as we thought it was.
Well, 5-7 deserves to be fired. 5-7 would be 3 losing seasons in 6 seasons. It would be missing, 3 bowl games in the last 4. Am I right? Yeah, 3 in the last 4.
Yeah.
That's a fireable offense. There's your hot seat. There's your bare minimum. Now, again, 6-6, nobody should be happy. And that includes 6-6 with a win over Clemson. Some of this does now. There are small caveats to this.
Sure.
Let's just say you go 6-6, and let's just say you lost. I'm just going to throw these three out. You lost to Alabama, Florida, and Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get railed? Was it 31-10?
Mm-hmm.
Or did Tennessee, Florida, and Alabama have to go down to score in the fourth quarter? I go back last year. 4-8 stunk. It stunk. It was unacceptable. There's no reason. No reason. There's a part of me, though, that goes back like, what was it, 7 out of the 8 losses?
Yeah, you were in almost all those games.
You're within a touch. Sure. You're within 6 points, or you're leading in the fourth quarter.
Let me throw another one at you here, because and they alluded to this in the clip we played a moment ago. That back half is brutal, as it was last year, as it is a lot of years. You're playing almost exclusively playoff teams in those final 6 games of the regular season. Let's say you start off the year 5-1. Right? You know, those first 6 games, which you have an even split right in the middle, your bye week comes after the Florida game. So you play 6 games bye, then play 6 more games. Let's say you're 5-1 at that bye week. Let's say you go on the road to lose to Alabama, tight game, whatever. But then you proceed to go 1-5 in the last 6 with your only win against Arkansas, where you've ended the season with 0 momentum, where you went from probably being like a ranked team at 5-1 to now being 6-6 and just kind of limping across the finish line. How does that affect your judgment?
That's a great question. I don't think the back half is as brutal as people make it out to be. Again, I think Tennessee is a better football program, but it's not by a lot. It's not so much that I'm just like, yep, chalk that baby up. And a matter of fact, if I was to do a very quick prediction, and I haven't thought about this, so I'm doing this off the cuff of my head, all right? So if you disagree or think I'm crazy, this is straight cuff off the cuff. You beat Kent State, you beat Towson, you beat Mississippi State. That's 3-0. You lose to Alabama, that's 3-1. You beat Kentucky 4. I got them losing to Florida. That's 4-2. I got them beating Tennessee. That's 5-2. Oklahoma, I think you lose. That's 5-3. A&M is the big one. You get them at home. I'm going to go. You win that 6-3. You beat Arkansas at 7-3. And I'll take Georgia to beat South Carolina at 7-4. And then Clemson. I'm never going to pick South Carolina to lose to Clemson, even though historical records suggest that's a really dumb thing to do. But you get my point. I'm doing that based on history. But that's 7-4 going into that Clemson game at Memorial Stadium, where you're 2-0 in your last 2. I don't think Clemson's a playoff team. I think Clemson's about to have a very down year given their standards, like even more so than last year because of the quarterback situation. But the point being is I just rattled off the first 11 games without the bowl game, or excuse me, without the Palmetto State game, and you're 7-4, and I'm calling for what would be, let's be honest, a major upset over Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So it's more than likely I'm sitting here giving 6-5 with that Clemson game to define 6-6 or 7-5. You see how that worked?
Yeah.
I like Oklahoma with John Mateer and with Brent Venables calling that defense. Going there to Norman, I don't know how that works particularly well for you. Georgia's Georgia. All right, Georgia hadn't won a championship, hadn't played a championship in a long time, but Georgia's still Georgia. And that's terrifying.
Sure.
And you get them late in the season where, again, if you be quite honest about it, Georgia's depth is better than South Carolina's depth for if you've been banged up for several games. I can't, look at Mississippi State. South Carolina should be better.
Right.
I can't look at Mississippi State and just automatically be like, oh, I've seen enough I need to see to know South Carolina's better. And here's the other part to all this, and it's what you just brought up. And this is where I would turn my opinion. You look at what South Carolina appears to be destined to lose after this year. Yeah, if you go 6-6, that is to me now the question of where Jeremiah Donati looks at it, because you're going to lose Stewart, you're going to lose Harbor, you're going to lose Sellers, maybe you lose Peak. You got some senior offensive linemen there. You're going to lose Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy.
Yep.
Yeah, you go through, there's more players there. You're going to lose some guys. It's kind of like if you don't get it done this year, you're not starting from square one next year.
Yeah.
But everything sets up in 2027 to be a step back.
27 is looking like a hard reset, right? To where no matter what you accomplish this year, you're going to have to really go back to the draw or just have a phenomenal portal haul in the offseason to rebuild your roster, because you're going to lose a lot of really good talent likely for the 26-27 offseason.
Yeah, I mean that's legitimate, and I'll say this, and Russ weighs in and asks something. I'm not buying into it just yet. I'm just not buying into it just yet. But yeah, it does. There is a weirdness to Dylan Stewart's injury where it keeps being like, yeah, he's on track. Yeah, he didn't need. He's good. I don't know what we're getting with Dylan Stewart this year, and make no mistake, that's a massive part of that defense. We'll come back, wrap up the entire program. You're listening to the Halftime Show. All right, conclusion. I get a week off, Tyler. Or a week of not being here. A week of a lot going on. So as we wrap, guys, as we kind of do this, let's do this for a second. We'll get a lot more of this football talk to get to. I think, y'all, I hope you understand where I'm coming from as it pertains to South Carolina football. I am not in any way, shape, or form advocating for 6-6 or 7-5.
Mm-hmm.
It is just personal opinion that will not get Shane Beamer fired. The only reason I think it would is what we just brought up, and what you said is, while I won't call it a hard reset, I think you go into 2027 going, all right, we're taking a step back. I don't know if it's Cutter Woods or Landon Duckworth. You know, you got some players in the pipeline.
Sure.
You got some guys in the pipeline. But the reset, and I don't have the 2027 schedule right in front of me, but I know, like, Texas comes on. I think you go to Austin, too, by the way.
Yeah, it's outside of your annual opponents. It's all the teams you don't play this year.
Yeah, so you'll see us out. You'll see an LSU. You'll see an Auburn. You'll see so forth and so on. We don't actually know the dates of that just yet, but nonetheless, yeah, you get it. So everything will kind of rotate. By the way, 2027, you'll open the season with Furman and Appalachian State.
Okay.
Furman, you go, okay, App State. Will Dow Loggins still be there? Oh, boy. But Auburn, 2027, by the way, at Auburn, at Georgia, at Kentucky, at Mississippi, Florida here, LSU here, Missouri here, and Texas. Oh, Texas comes to Columbia. Okay, good. And then at Vanderbilt. Need to go ahead and get the date on that so I can sign up. So anyway, we'll talk more about it. There's 3 months to go. I'm not advocating for 6-6 or 7-5. That's not what I'm saying is acceptable. What I am saying is I think, reading into the mind of Jeremiah Donati, he's like, oh, okay, that's a 2-game improvement. Kind of like Lamont Paris this year.
Sure.
So we'll see. 803-404-6100. So today now is kind of our last show together for about 2.5 weeks. I'm out next week till Friday. Tyler's out the following week. So as you said, we won't reconvene until June 22nd. All right, so that'll be almost to the midway point of the year. And then, quite frankly, when we come back, it'll be 4th of July week, and there's some days off taken in there. I know I'll take a few more days. So today kind of wraps up our first half of the year programs. Just a few minutes left, maybe a loaded question. Maybe we should have done this earlier. What do you take away from the first half of 2026?
Oh, my goodness.
I know. I didn't see that coming. I didn't either.
That's a deep question there. I guess my takeaway from the first half of the year is that there's a lot of work to do, right? Now, we were, hopeful you would maybe see basketball trend in a good direction when conference play started. You were hoping that Maneri's reset of the roster for year number 2 would be better. It hasn't. Again, there's optimism that football can be better, but we heard some good things in the spring. We're not going to know. It's just there's still a lot of work to do to get men's sports, right? And that's what we're focusing on here. Men's sports back to an era of respectability. And again, this coaching search for baseball is a big part of that in terms of getting that back in the right direction. But there's a lot of work to be done to get back to where we were even just a couple years ago.
David, your thoughts so far on the 2026 first half of the calendar? Like I said, by the time we kind of reconvene, we'll be heading to the back half. What are your thoughts so far?
That it is confirmed we are a women's sports school, and I'm fine with that.
David Dare will be here the majority of the time the next few weeks for you to call and yell at him for that take, but I totally understand. Ashley Chastain Woodard in softball, I wouldn't say let us down, but that was definitely a step back in the wrong direction compared to what we had seen. Now, was that a step back to take a big step forward with some of the guys, some of the ladies that they have coming in? That'll be interesting. My big take right now is South Carolina athletics is in a state of flux, kind of to what Tyler's point is. And this is the first step to seeing where South Carolina goes in the modern era. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it, but it's true. The modern era now defines NIL and transfer portal and financial backing and all this stuff. What are you willing to do? Because I'll be honest, as we had that conversation, and I said it out loud, there are a lot of things that in my life I think about, but then when I say them out loud, you go, ooh. It's a drastic drop from Schnall, Fitzgerald, and Sabins to, say, a Holiday, Skylar Meade, anybody else you want to throw on that list. A drastic drop.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, I think those are okay hires, but if you don't get one of those three, if you end up with the other three, it's just kind of like, really?
Yep.
Okay. Folks, I'm off tomorrow through the following Friday, but I'll be on Twitter. Y'all take care.